Okay, I'm coming at you hard with these videos on the roles of a supervisor. We looked at the organizational roles, now the team building roles, the power of influence. We're going to find that both of these types of roles are critically important to be effective as a supervisor. You can't neglect the organizational roles, you can't neglect the team building roles. They are different, but you will be walking and in and out of these roles constantly as you go about your day, dealing with and interacting with your people and with the problems and challenges and stuff that you have to deal with and approach as a supervisor and a leader. So let's look at these team building roles, and we're going to kind of stay with this sports metaphor, like as a sports team, and we're going to look at least 6 different ones that are part of this team building role model. First is the coach. Now we all know what a coach does. The coach is the mentor. The coach is the leader of the team. The coach has that supervision ability. He can see the big picture. He knows what play to initiate. He knows perhaps what the strengths of his team are, and he knows the weaknesses of his team, and he knows the strengths and weaknesses of the other team. And he plans accordingly. He staffs, he assigns, he delegates accordingly based on these strengths and weaknesses that he can see, where the individual player may not see that at this stage of their development. They're focused on whatever their particular role and duty is, but the coach is responsible for bringing all of those human resources together to accomplish those predetermined objectives through others. So he's the planner, he's the strategist, he's the mentor, he is the leader of the team. So that's a coach. That's a very important role that you have in building the relationships within your team. Secondly is the referee. You know, as a leader, you're the one for setting down the rules. You're the one for explaining the policies and the procedures and the law that that your people have to operate within. You say, okay, here are the parameters within which you can operate. Here's the boundaries of the field or the court. You can do what you need to do within the rules as long as you stay in the proper fair territory. But once you go outside those lines, you've crossed a boundary. And as a referee, oftentimes we issue either a warning, depending on the nature of the offense, or a penalty has to be assessed, and that will be your role as a supervisor. Set the boundaries, set the playing field, and then be the enforcer of the rules, the disciplinarian, when the appropriate time comes when somebody has broken those rules, particularly when it's an intentional mistake or a malicious mistake, not a well-intentioned mistake, as we talked earlier. All right, third role, a cheerleader. Now, I know it's difficult for some of you to imagine yourselves in miniskirts with pom-poms, but that's exactly what we have to do as leaders and supervisors. We have to cheer the team. We have to celebrate the victories. We have to be the encouragers. We have to be the motivators. That's why this principle of praising people for character is so incredibly important, because it's a motivator. It's an incredible motivator because it reaches down into the heart, again, seeing beyond the obvious, seeing into the hearts of the individuals that we have working within our teams so that we can fire those shots, we can make those pitches right across the plate to pitch character so that they can catch it. So that's what a cheerleader does. Now imagine this. Imagine we're at a football game and our team is moving the ball down the field and we're almost at the goal line. We're just within shot of making the winning touchdown, and in the very next play, one of our players fumbles the ball and we lose possession and we lose our opportunity. What did the cheerleaders do? You stupid idiot! I can't believe you fumbled the ball. Here we were almost to the goal line. We're almost about to win this game, and you stupid idiot, you fumbled the ball at the critical moment, and you lost the whole thing for the whole team. The cheerleaders don't do that. Now, the coach might do that. Hopefully he'll do it back in the locker room, maybe even one-on-one, but that'd be maybe a better coach than having a pitching a fit and a tirade out in the public, as some of us are prone to do. But the cheerleaders don't do that. The cheerleaders realize there's been a change that's taken place here. We were moving forward. We were on the offense. We almost got there. We didn't quite meet the goal. And so, what did the cheerleaders do? They change they change modes instantly. And now it's go defense. Now we got to pick that ball back up. We got to prevent the other team from scoring. And we've got to get out there and do this part of the job now. And we can deal with the mistake. We can deal with the error of the fumble later on when we pick up that role as the coach. Now, and here's a question you got to ask yourself as you're the coach. Did they intentionally fumble that ball? I mean, do you really think, I can't stand this team, I can't stand this coach, I'm going to get out there this next play, and I'm going to deliberately fumble this ball and give up possession. Now, if that was the case, that would require some very, very strict disciplinary action if he deliberately fumbled that ball and deliberately threw that ball game. More than likely, that is not the case. He made a well-intentioned mistake. His intention was to hang onto the ball, but he messed up, he did something wrong, and you got to correct that, obviously. You can't have your players fumbling the ball out there all the time, but you correct it in the right way with the proper exercise of discipline. So that's your cheerleader. Now, fourth one, scorekeeper. Somebody's got to tell the team how they're doing. And we've got to give them effective feedback. That's a critical component of a leader as a supervisor, is giving appropriate feedback to your players, to your team members, so that they know how they're doing. And it's got to be done on a regular, consistent basis. It's kind of like, let's use a basketball metaphor for a moment. You're running down the court in the middle of the game, in the play, and you want the players to be able to glance up at the scoreboard and see what the score is throughout the game. They want to get constant feedback so they see how well they're doing. Are they way behind? Are they just a little bit behind? They need to be more aggressive. They need to be more cautious and conservative in their plays. And they need that feedback, not at the end of the game, and certainly not at the end of the year. I mean, annual evaluations are a whole nother issue. All right, and so many of our organizations, by mandate, by policy, we do annual evaluations. And the reason we do these evaluations is because, people really want to know how well they're doing, and they really, really want constructive feedback, and they really want to know what their deficiencies are, and they want you as a supervisor to point out all of their failings so that they can get better. And because they want that so well, every time the annual evaluations roll around, morale just soars because everybody's looking forward to the evaluation, right? Most people tell me, absolutely not. That's when morale goes in the dumpster, is during the evaluation period. So we need to think about what message are we sending our people when we do these annual evaluations. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with them, but there's a right way to do it. And the right way is you got to be giving feedback all year long. You got to be giving feedback almost on a daily basis as to how well the team members are doing. So, if you're at a leadership position within your organization, whoever you are directly responsible for, you need to be touching base with them on an almost daily basis and discussing issues and discussing performances and getting feedback and giving feedback to them, getting feedback from them. And that's what a scorekeeper does. So they have a sense of how the team is doing, play by play by play, moment by moment, as they're going through this process of accomplishing the goal. So that's your scorekeeper. Now, the next one, the fifth one, is a team player. And by that I mean every now and then, as a supervisor, as a leader, every now and then you need to get out there on the playing field. Now, not all the time, because if you're out there playing the game all the time, you're not supervising and leading like you're supposed to be doing. But there's something powerful about a supervisor or a leader getting out there in the field from time to time. Shagging a call or directing traffic at an accident scene, relieving an officer from some other duties so that they can be freed up for something. This is powerful when it comes to building relationships, when the team members see you as the leader out there on the field every now and then. And here's what I believe. I believe that the higher up the organizational chain that you are in terms of your position, the less time that you're going to have to be out there in the field with your people. That's just the nature of the game. The lower you are organizationally, the more often you're going to need to be out there in the field. But even our senior leaderships need to be out there from time to time. I know as a sheriff or a chief, I would look for opportunities. I would look for opportunities to answer some mundane call. If I heard a call go out, an alarm call or whatever. Not that they're all mundane, but you know what I'm saying. Just something that's kind of at the lower end of the echelon of priority calls. I would love to get opportunities to direct traffic. I'd always try to show up if an officer was making a traffic stop, maybe back them up on a stop, that type of thing, just so they know I'm not afraid to get out there and back them up every now and then physically. And if they see you doing that physically, they know that you're doing it back in the office as well. It's a powerful, powerful model of building relationships. Now, this last one, for many, many years, I taught dynamic leadership, and those were the only 5 team building roles that I used in the training. The coach, the referee, the cheerleader, the scorekeeper, and the team player. And then it dawned on me a few years ago that I had left out the most important one. The most important team building role might appear to some to be the least important. Maybe that's why I missed it. And that's the water boy. The water boy. The water boy is the member of the team. He takes care of the needs of the team. If they need water, if they need refreshment, they need a towel, whatever they need, he goes out there and gets it. He's the servant of the team, and we oftentimes look upon them as being the least important member of the team, and they can be the most important leader of the team. I'll tell you how this came about is we were doing a manhunt. We had a bank robbery, and one of my deputies was right on top of it. I mean, he was just right there as the bad guys were pulling out of the parking lot. He gave chase. They're starting to throw the money out of the windows. It was very dramatic. They crashed the car, run off into the woods, into this big swamp that we have back home, and the deputies were there. They were shooting at the deputies. They were having to return fire at the guys, and we had this big manhunt. We caught one of them right away. The other one, it took us about 36 hours to find him eventually, but we cordoned off this huge area in this wilderness swampy area, and we had the perimeter set up, and this thing went on. We had the feds there and everything because it was a bank robbery, and this went on for about a day and a half or so, and we had a command post set up, and I remember standing there at the command post and watching my team doing their job and organizing. As incident commander, they were organizing things and getting the resources in the right place, and somebody brought in a case of water. And it was hot. It was hot summertime, South Carolina, and it was miserable being out there in the field. And they said, we need somebody to take the water around the perimeter to the troops. And I thought, well, I'm not doing anything, I'll do it. And I was just doing it to help out. I really wasn't thinking a whole lot beyond that. But it would give me a chance to see the perimeter. So I put the water in my truck and went out around the perimeter and delivered water to my men and women that were out there in the field. Sometime later, one of my lieutenants came to me and said, Sheriff, you taught me a very powerful lesson in leadership the other day at the manhunt. So what was that? He said, well, you brought me a bottle of water. And he said, you're the last person I would have thought would have brought me water, and it really impressed upon me the need that I have as a supervisor, as a lieutenant, to take care of the needs of my people. And that's when it dawned on me, this is a powerful principle here that we need to incorporate into the training. So now, well, not now because I'm over here in Afghanistan, but after that, anytime we had a major event, I took the responsibility to take the water, take the Gatorade, go get the pizza, whatever it was, to bring to the men out of the field. And it's a powerful, powerful illustration of taking care of your people. Because, the greatest leader that ever lived said, I came not to be served, but to serve. He said, he who would be the greatest among you must become the servant of all. And if you think about it, the great leaders of history, the great leaders that we look back upon now and say these are our models that we should try to model our life and our leadership style after, they were servant leaders. And that is the key to building the types of strong relationships in your team so that they're motivated to move forward and accomplish those predetermined objectives.